was a Friday night. It was the weekend. It was my last day of work. I probably already had about 3 drinks. I know I had already smoked that day. I remember there was literally water coming up from the floor in the hallway. And I didn't know what to do with the water, so I kept throwing clothes, the dirty clothes, like on top of the water to like soak it up. It was like this slow trickle of dysfunction. It was, I remember seeing the pile of dirty clothes that I had stacked onto the laundry, this leak. And I just kept piling it on. I kept piling it on. And I would walk over it. And I had a routine of basically doing a shot, doing some drugs. And then I would start my day. I would take a break at lunchtime and do some more. And then as soon as my ex-husband would come home, I would do some more. Things were great at first, and then we started to fight. He was yelling at me, and I was yelling at him, and I remember smashing the telephone. I'm not sure if the phone call was made at that time or not, but it would make sense that that was why I was upset and broke it. Their father took the kids for a walk and, told me to cool down and everything. I don't remember what was said, but I was upset and I was angry. And shortly after that, the cops got called and they showed up. I was so angry. I remember breathing, I was breathing heavily and couldn't say anything. They would ask me questions and I just wouldn't respond. And then when they'd ask him a question, I would literally put my fists up and proceed to be in this stance of I'm gonna fight you. After I would say about 15 minutes maybe there of being with us, they put the handcuffs on me and they took me to jail. And then I was released that morning. So I never made it into a jail cell. They just put me in the holding. I remember once I got out, I made a phone call and I got back to the house and his mother and him were waiting for me. I tried to breastfeed my son and they started yelling and screaming at me. I was yelling back and the cops were called again. This was the end. I had lost my kids, my husband, and was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I had lost everything. The center really was my last chance to maybe make a change and do something different. And, oddly, there was this huge relief too. I left the center that day, that meeting, feeling like there was actual hope that maybe I could come back from this. Because the months leading up to coming to the center, I didn't know if I could move past that. Oh, baby. Did you win some games? My love bug.
I love bug.
Yeah. You know where the snacks are. Just watch out for cords.
Mom, I want to come with.
Oh, you want me to come with you? All right, let's get you a snack. I said I was going to do this, And like I said, like that hope that like I could be something different, I just told myself that if I just keep doing it, even though it felt like the exact opposite, everything in my body was like, you don't want to do this. But I knew that if I kept doing it, I might be a different person. I had completed my 12 weeks. At that point, I didn't want to leave, so I kept coming. The facilitators said, no, we'll get the help that you need if you can't afford the class, because I really couldn't afford it. I had no job. And so then my classes, were free. I knew I wanted to make a change in my life. I knew I wanted to be a better person. I also knew that there were going to be challenges, and those challenges seemed huge and astronomical. By the time I got to the center, I had no other options left. I had exhausted family members, friends, and the answer now for me was no. And the center said yes. So, I feel that I am thriving today. I have a level of joy that I could not have expected. I am happy, like honestly, truly happy with who I am, what's going on in my life. I have my children with me. I also have a new home where each of my children get to have their own space and their own room. I realize that there's a lot of funding for people in crisis. I didn't realize that there was almost no funding to take people from crisis to thriving like I am today. I am so grateful that the center was there to help me get to that next level.
Well, what's making me cry is I feel like I didn't have my mom.